betcha.
Thanks for joining me today on About Alberta Tech, which is focused on introducing Alberta tech companies to Albertans. Our goal is to share the innovation and diversity that exists in this province in terms of technology in quick bites. So today I am joined by Tom Short. He is the founder and chief customer officer of Kudos. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Lenore. I appreciate it.
And let's start with some background on you. How did you get into tech, Tom?
It's a long and sordid story. It kind of went from physical items to marketing to digital technologies, through the online SaaS plays that are out there. But I come from a kind of a group of individuals that are all very entrepreneurial, family and in-laws and items like that. So it was kind of already kind of a incestuous type of a scenario that took me out of oil and gas at one point and into the entrepreneurial world, where we started back in the 90s building neon products that we were actually physically manufacturing coil and core transformers and making neon art and selling it globally through catalogs. And then that evolved into a marketing firm, because we found that our catalogs often got to the destination more often than our neon products did. And then we started doing creative work for individuals, doing catalog work, which eventually turned into full service agency, which turned into an online agency once the internet came into play as a big part of marketing and communications. And that kept growing and through a series of morphing. So from Bright Ideas to Idea Machine to Rare Method, and now to Kudos, because once we were doing a more of a full service solution in North America through Rare Method, we were finding it was very difficult to engage our employees. We had offices in the States and here in Calgary, and it was a scenario where we were just looking for ways to connect our team and communicate with them in a more social way, and nothing like that really existed. Everything was very focused on rewards and incentives and years of service and other items which were kind of more the way that it used to be done, or what my father and his father and everyone else might have done. And we wanted something a little bit more Twitter-esque, and that was even before Twitter existed. And so we ended up creating our own solution, which we ended up branding as Kudos, and we ended up taking it out of the agency and are now in 80 countries around the world in 9 different languages, and growing pretty well year over year, making a pretty big impact. We were actually probably one of the very first companies to really explore and exploit this whole concept of social recognition versus the old guard. And so over the course of the last 20 years, it just one company led to another company, which is now Kudos in its current form.
That is very neat. So with Kudos, how does it work?
So Kudos is a peer-to-peer social recognition system that acts like a corporate intranet. So it's a private social network where anyone in the team can recognize anyone else for the little things they do to major accomplishments. And so it's basically consolidating all of that culture element and recognition element into a social network where you can communicate, connect, and celebrate all the good things, and separate it out of your day-to-day work. Because what typically happens, most organizations, most people are pretty appreciative, and they will say thank you and they will show their appreciation, but it's usually mashed up with all the other work that people need to do. And so it's often forgotten or overshadowed by deadlines and objectives and goals and other things that are going on. And so we found by separating it out into its own environment, it gave it more weight, and it actually resonated more with the employees, where it wasn't forgotten, because it was something that you would do slightly outside of your normal workflow, where you'd take a moment, take 2 or 3 minutes just to send a nice message of gratitude or appreciation. And then that feeds back into a whole performance management loop where you're capturing all the good things that people are doing on a day-to-day basis. Peers recognizing one another, managers recognizing team members, executives recognizing everyone or individuals, in certain ways. And that surfaces a lot of really great detail on how people are connected to one another, how an individual's doing, how a department's doing, how an entire company is doing. So it's a very unique way, and that gives you more information on the health of your individuals and the health of your company that just wasn't there before. So it's just a very simple social network for people to appreciate one another on a regular basis.
That is so cool. So you started to actually address your own company.
Yep.
How did you see that affect the morale? Like, did that recognition notch it up a bit?
100%, where we were working in silos, and there's this thing called this 300-foot rule, where if you're over 300 feet away from somebody, you're never going to see them in a given day. And so what it did is it brought everybody together. It was really based off of this concept that Gallup came up with called the Q12. And we were reading a book called First Break All the Rules. And it identified the 12 essential elements that you need to demonstrate or be able to say, yes, we do that, to have a very engaged workforce. And of course, an engaged workforce leads to a more intrinsic motivation, which will lead to more productivity, which will lead to happier clients, which will lead to higher profits. So it's a little bit of a long tail kind of a play, where by just the simple power of a thank you, you can affect the bottom line in amazing ways, because it does reduce turnover, it does improve reduce absenteeism, it does improve productivity, it does improve customer service, because whatever you recognize, the behaviors that you recognize, you'll get more of those behaviors. And and it's not like everybody can be the employee of the month, and those kind of programs are almost demotivating than motivating. Yet so many companies still just do years of service and nominations and employees of the month, when they really should have more of a continuous conversation going on between everybody, where people can express gratitude, and then you can really see who your top performers are, and you can help coach and mentor people as you see what's going on. You can see who's maybe not receiving enough recognition, and inject yourself into a scenario like that to ensure everybody is getting the right kind of support, feedback, and interactions with individuals, so that you just have a healthier company overall, and happier people lead to healthier, more profitable organizations. So it really is a simple solution that so many people think they do well, but in actuality, most people do it really badly.
I totally have seen it, and appreciate what you guys are doing, especially like if you look at performance management. When you go to write that once a year or once a quarter performance report on an employee, it's hard to remember what happened over the last 3 months.
Yep.
A year would be horrible. And so it must make it much easier for your coaches and your managers to really be able to say, oh yeah, no, they did a really great job here, here, and here. Absolutely. I got to remember that.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really great insight. Or you're speaking to the converted here, but that's when people wait 3 months or wait 6 months or wait to a year, they're scrambling to try to figure out what the person did that was good. And really they're doing good things every day. And most people are hardwired to look for what's wrong, not for what's good. Like if you walk into a room and see 9 people working hard, but you see one chair is empty, you're like, hey, where's that guy? And versus saying, hey, thank you everyone for doing an awesome job, and then creating a teachable moment, and getting those people leaning in more than the person that's not there, but then to find out why that person is maybe missing or not doing the things that they should be doing. So it really is kind of fascinating from that standpoint, how something so simple can give you catalog and capture all of the good things people are doing all the time. And what's really fascinating is when you start to see how people are interacting with one another and the way that others are recognizing them. And then there's the whole aspect of reinforcing core values through the process, because every company spends all this time creating these core values, and then they put them on the wall and never speak about them again. And whereas in this situation, you can actually reinforce the core values and qualities and behaviors that are important to your company with every single message that you send, so you can get the really tight correlation on what people are doing, reinforce it with core values, and then communicate and celebrate all the good things that are going on in the company, and it just creates a more energized organization.
I believe that. Okay, so you started Kudos, and why did you choose Alberta outside of the fact you were already here?
Well, that was pretty well it, because we were already, I was already here, and my network was here. And then when my business partner and I, when we finally got together, Mooney and I, we made the decision to make a go here in Calgary, because we were both from Calgary. However, we did talk lots about moving down to the valley and to pursue the opportunities down there. And it may have been a actually better decision that could have accelerated the company faster if we had. But we were we like Calgary from a lifestyle standpoint, and from family and everything else that's here. We really didn't think about moving at the beginning, and then we're several years into it and doing well, and beyond even what some other people's expectations were when we started, because there are a lot of individuals that really don't, the ecosystem for the tech community is pretty tough in Calgary, and there are a lot of people saying, I don't get it, why would you want to do that, kind of a scenario, and people who just obviously believe in what they're doing and believe in their product, muscle through that, and and damn the torpedoes kind of a thing, and you just keep going. Some make it, some don't, but it all comes down to believing in what you're doing, and knowing that there is a market for it, and pursuing it. And then around our year 2, year 3, when we were into it, we did get finally got some good support from some local angel investors, which really helped us accelerate where we were and what we're doing. And so we didn't have to go away. We just had to survive that first couple of years on our own and bootstrap, and then get to the point where we now had some proof points that there was a market and the product was viable. And then we were able to finally raise some funds and get going. Or
That's
faster,
awesome.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference when you get past that initial stage and can really stretch it out a bit. Okay. What are you planning to do with Kudos? What are you growing toward?
Well, our vision and mission for the company is to to empower individuals to have a better work-life experience and a better life in general, because if you're happier at work, you'll be happier at home, and all of those things that come from just feeling appreciated, feeling valued, and feeling more engaged. So we're going to continue pushing to be the best in this recognition space. We might see a bit more of an expansion of the product overall, where we'll see new features and new capabilities as we grow. We're looking at building strong partnerships and integrations with key services like Microsoft and G Suite and Slack and other products like that, where people collaborate and do their work by being in those areas, as well as integrating with other larger scale HR systems, whether it's like ADP to Workday to other products like that. So it's really just making sure that we can be part of the larger ecosystem and be seen as the best recognition platform on the planet. And we're very fortunate that we also have the name that is personifies recognition with Kudos, and we were surprised as heck when we started the company that we were able to name it Kudos, and then we were able to trademark it everywhere. And so we basically own this area around the word kudos. I'm sure others might have other recognition or reward type terms that might feel right, like thank you. But Kudos, I think, personifies the category, and we own that.
That is really awesome. I have to say that when I saw the company name, and I was like, does it actually do this? When I went into the site and found out, I was surprised that you guys were able to get that, because you would think that that would have been snatched up pretty quickly. So
yeah, kind of crazy. Well, that's kind of, we were pretty early on, back in 2008, 2009, when we kind of conceptualized it inside of the agency, and then we separated it out in 2010, and then and then 2011, 2012, we really kind of got after it. And so since that time period, now 8 years later in 2020, from that relaunch to a commercial product, we've seen amazing growth globally, and people always say we love the name, like and when they go searching for something, all of our sales are inbound. We don't have any outbound sales. Everybody's just here in our Calgary office, and it's because people have such a pain in their organization, like people not feeling valued, or morale being low, or turnover being too high, or whatever the case might be. And of course, when they go to search for, like, how do I solve this, how do I increase employee engagement, or how do I improve recognition, Kudos comes up to the top of the heap in that situation.
excellent. All right. So what else do you think our community should know about you and about Kudos?
Well, in general, I think we're kind of a well-kept secret in Alberta and Canada. Not 100% sure why we don't see more Albertans and more Canadians embracing these types of concepts or products. It may be the nature of the industry being more rural, agricultural, more oil and gas related, which also spawns off more support services in legal and accounting and things like that. And most of those individuals are run by very motivated, intrinsically motivated individuals that I think in nature believe everyone's like them, that they don't need accolades and a pat on the back to get up in the morning and go win the day, but all of their staff does. And the changing dynamics in the workforce, with millennials and Zs being going to be 75% of the workforce by 2025, and they all grew up with a cell phone in their hand. They all grew up being constantly connected with everybody, and so really it's inevitable that more tools and technology are going to be utilized to keep everybody connected, more so now that working from home, and in the whole C-19 dilemma, where we used to see each other at the office all the time. Now we'd see each other through Zoom and other video conferencing tools all the time. And more now than ever is a time where you need to be supporting people in their roles, making sure that they, mentally and physically they're doing the right thing, and encouraging them and keeping the communication flowing more so than ever before.
It's so important. I know that following you on LinkedIn, that you've been recognizing people in the community in terms of those frontline workers. And
yes,
what sort of feedback have you gotten related to that?
It's been really good. Like it was more for our team to, we wanted to do a hackathon, and we wanted to bring everyone together and do something that resonated with the audience out there. So by creating Kudos.org as part of our Kudos ecosystem, we wanted to aggregate all of the appreciation messages globally in one place, which we call Thanks Stream. And I think there's around 36 million or more now messages that have been sent through social media to frontline workers at this point in time. And it was really just to live our brand, to promote our cause of surfacing all of the great things that people do every day that often go unnoticed. But now it's a place where it's an affirmation area where you can go and see that there is a lot of good things going on in this world, even though we're all going through a tough time.
That's really neat. I really appreciated seeing that. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Again, this is Tom Short. He's the founder and Chief Customer Officer of Kudos, and you should definitely check out his site.